and the business of RTI has radio stations for various languages, including Mandarin, Taiwanese, Hakka, and Cantonese, and they receive lots of international news and translate it into these different languages. And so Shirley has been working there for 7 years, and mainly doing the translation work, and also do host programs as well. Yes, and host programs as well. And I just talked to Shirley briefly that her experience is very interesting because her major, undergraduate major, is mathematics and economics, which is totally irrelevant to communication or mass communications. And so she will explain to us her career, the whole career route, and what's in her mind. And Shirley has a very impressive academic achievement, and she graduated from Wesley, which is a very tough university in the States, and she has grown up in Hong Kong, in Japan, and the States, and the States as well. So she lives 3 different places. And do you speak Japanese as well?
It's rusty.
A little bit. So I think I'll pass the stage to Shirley and let her to talk to us.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me, Professor Chen, and I'm really honored to be here today. So first of all, I want to start off talking about myself, about my life, and maybe first of all, if you guys read the Chinese title, it's like 永之声. My Chinese is not good, okay, but 永之声. So and 破茧而出. Am I saying it right? Okay, but which means like, from a pupa turning into a beautiful butterfly. And that really is my life. I'll explain that all to you later. But I'll show you a video first, okay, that I put together. It's about 5 or 6 minutes long. But because right now I host a program called People at RTI. I'm with the English service, okay. Besides the Chinese, oh, sorry, I thought I'm loud enough. Am I not loud enough? No, no. Okay, you want me to use this? All right, fine. Okay. So the thing is that we not only broadcast in Chinese languages, the 4 that Professor Chen just mentioned, but a total of 13 languages. We used to have 17, and we're down to 13 now. So there's English, there's Japanese, Spanish, German, French, then I already said Spanish, Russian, then Vietnamese, Thai, and Indonesian, and then 4 Chinese dialects. So that's a total of 13 languages. And I'm with the English service. Okay, and I host a program called People. And the thing is that we are a radio station. We are a shortwave radio station. You know what that means? Shortwave, 短波, okay? So you need a special radio to listen to our programs. But you cannot hear any of our programs in Taiwan unless you go on the internet, because we only broadcast abroad to the rest of the world. Okay, we have 9 transmission stations all around the island, all right, and we transmit abroad. So we introduce programs that have to do with introducing Taiwan to the rest of the world. So that's what we do, and I'm with the English service. Anyway, I want to show you some of the interviews I've done in the 摄影棚. We have a film studio, okay, which was set up in 2008, 2009. And so I have brought some of my interviews into the 摄影棚, it's a film studio. And I discovered I enjoyed it very much. But let's have a look at that video first, okay?
But the thing is, spending all that time studying and working so hard and not having fun.
I didn't study. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, well, see, you okay, I'm just talking to someone who's just unusual, probably. Unique, an exception, because I think...
My grades were horrible in the 1st and 2nd year in high school, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd year in college. My grades were horrible because I was doing all sorts of other things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In high school, actually, a lot of my fellow schoolmates may remember, in high school, every summer, every winter, I was always out there in the mountains, in the seashore, somewhere in Taiwan, During school years, I was singing, dancing, teaching people how to dance, doing all sorts of crazy things. I never studied.
Oh, well, this I didn't know about you. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can, actually, you can choose. You can't have both worlds. You can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Except that you know how this cram school, culture is in Taiwan.
And I never went to any cram school.
See?
And see, that's the important part.
Yeah, we should be telling the parents, right?
Right.
Don't send your kids to cram school.
You don't need to occupy every single moment of your child's life.
I
If
know,
you do
they lose
that,
their childhood.
you deprive that person of their own exploration of the world.
Okay, so, well, there's one thing about you, your personality being very outgoing and willing to take on different things and
Crazy,
learning and
challenging.
everything. And on the other hand, you've got supportive parents who doesn't tell you like study and no
My parents didn't
fun.
know my grades were horrible.
To this day?
My father probably didn't even know my grades were horrible.
Yeah.
I didn't give him my report cards.
Yeah. How did you manage to do that?
Oh, I took it from the envelope. I took it from our mailbox and signed the name myself.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Wow. We're revealing all kinds of secrets about Joanna today. So.
Right.
Oh. Well, so do you think that you're closer to your father?
I'm very close to my father.
Yeah, than your mother?
I'm extremely close to my father. I gradually learned to be close to my mother.
It really has to be up and down. And I think that I've interviewed, hopefully I can share with them my experience as an employer.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed a lot of people who have beautiful resumes. But when you interview them, you say, wow, where's the experience? Not only the experience from a job perspective, but where's the life experience? And I like to see that. I like to see people who've worked very different jobs and worked at a very young age because they've taken that responsibility at a young age. I think a lot of the kids, not just in Taiwan, but the kids nowadays have been very sheltered. And all they have to do is get good grades. But that's not all about life.
Right.
And I tell you, I look at resumes and I don't think I've ever looked at the grade point average. Because to me, that's not important.
I know what you mean.
What is important is what kind of experience do you have, what have you done,
Right.
and what will let me know something about you, and what will let me know that you are going to be a value and an asset to my organization. And I think that's key.
All right. Thank you so much, Richard.
Well, thank you for having me.
You inspire me with that positiveness about,
Thank you.
life and perspective of life. But I hope you keep on sharing that with young people. They really need to hear this.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to
Okay.
engage in you and also into the audience, and I'd like to do it again soon.
All right, great.
Thank
you. Thank you for watching, people. I'm Shirley Lin. Welcome back to People. I'm Shirley Lin. Today, my guest is Fanny Xu, who is the director of Quartronic Culture and Arts Foundation. Now, earlier on, we were talking about just how she spent 18 years abroad, and that you were into galleries, art galleries, and auctions. I have a question for you, though. I'm just really curious. Was there ever any time at a formal auction that someone yelled out and said, "This is fake"?
Not on the auction day, I hope not.
I meant on the auction day.
But yeah,
No?
but I think if it's
never
a
happened to
right
you.
auction, no,
Yeah.
never. But if it's a right auction, we always open for discussion.
Yeah.
Someone asked me what's an expert. I think expert is someone who's made all the mistakes they can make. Then you become an expert on
That is
things.
true.
So I think it's okay to be open and to have opinions, to welcome different opinions, but you come down to a conclusion. But even the world famous experts cannot agree on one famous painting or another, but you do the best you can, and there's different ways, like what I mentioned before, the training of your eyes and
Yeah.
the careful research and scholarly research that can help you to the conclusion, I
Yeah.
hope. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Never
Well-
on the day, I hope.
Yeah. Well, what role do you play when you go to these camps? You gave a speech, you do classes,
No.
you play with them?
I have all the best people. I find the best people do that.
Oh.
All my
But you-
job
but
is
you're
to
there
say
yourself
thank you
too.
to everybody.
Oh, I see.
and yeah, I have, of course, a strong administration team.
Yes.
I have to
yes.
back them up. Yeah,
All right.
Sure.
Thank you so much,
You're
Mr.
very
Yan.
welcome.
I've learned so much from you.
Wow.
I really appreciate your big heart, and
Wow.
I hope that you can. I'm sure you'll be still continue to contribute a lot more to, to Taiwan.
I believe everybody, if you really be able to encourage them, everybody do have a big heart. You just sometimes you have to try to understand that is going to be your priority for your life.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching, people. I'm Shirley Lin.
Well, so those were just excerpts of some of the interviews I've done in the film studio at our radio station. Let me just tell you the rundown for today. I'll talk for about 35 minutes or so, and then we can have a Q&A, and then we'll have a break, and then after that I'll go for the second half, and then another, to end off, I have another Q&A at the end. Okay, just to let you guys know. All right. Well, let me start off with talking about my life, because to get to this point, with the interviews, my life has gone through a lot. First of all, I was born in Taiwan. I am from Taiwan. And like Professor Chen said, I lived in Hong Kong. That's where I spent my elementary school years. And then Tokyo, where I spent my junior high and high school years. And then I went to Wellesley College in Boston. And so then after that, I've been back for quite a long time. I went to international school. Actually, I went to a convent school. That's more like, run by nuns. Do you know what I mean? Okay. And then in Tokyo, I went to an international school. So everybody that graduated from international school would automatically want to go abroad for college, and so I did likewise. But I grew up not as someone with a lot of confidence, because this has to do with my father. I'm sure that either your parents, either your father or your mother, is the more controlling character. Well, in my life, it's my father. And so he basically decided which college I should go to. And then when I got there, what major I should major in. That's why economics. I later added math, because I've always liked math. And in fact, when I was younger, my father actually got us a tutor, a one-on-one tutor. And so I got really good at calculating math, all right? And so I thought, well, why don't I add a math major and make it a double major? Because it's very common to double major in the States. So I thought, it looks impressive, right, to double major. So I added a math. Little did I know that math in college is all theory. I don't know if you guys like theory, but I hate theory. But anyway, I managed to graduate, okay, in economics and math. Then I worked, actually in my field, kind of, economics, with these commodities firm. The first job was a commodities firm, a futures commodities firm. You sell things like wheat, or well, not gold, but anyway, wheat or rice or crops and things like that. Okay, futures commodities. Then I worked at an investment management company before I came back to Taiwan. And after I came back to Taiwan, I was working for an investment consulting firm. And then I went home and became a full-time mother. But after that, I got an opportunity to work at MCA Records. It's a record company. It's, in Taiwan, it's become universal now. But anyway, so I worked there under Wang Weizhong, who is a famous TV producer here in Taiwan. I worked under him as a secretary for a year. And actually, he's not into, his field is not music. And neither was I. But anyway, it was an experience. I mean, if you guys know what kind of person he is, he likes scolding you. He's always picking on you. He makes you feel like he's the tiger, But actually, I was born in the year of the tiger. But anyway, so, I was because I used to work as secretary in the States. And when I came back to Taiwan, I thought, oh, secretary, that's a piece of cake, right? And I've always worked as an office lady. So I thought it's a piece of cake. But I realized that the culture is very different. In the States, if you're asked to do A, B, and C, you just get A, B, and C done, and then you go home. You get off work at 5. But here, I realized that if your boss asks you to do A, B, C, you're supposed to think, what's D, E, F, G? So I learned the hard way, because I remember the first job I had in Taiwan, the boss was very unhappy with me. He was very displeased with my performance. And I said that, actually, by the way, this is my husband, John. I told him, I said, I'm going to quit. And I said 3 times before I finally, he said that you should talk to him. I said, oh, I can't talk to him. But the next morning I woke up and I said, that's true. I've never, communicated with him about my feelings about work. So I talked to him, and then I realized that he was just feeling a lot of pressure. He was just putting it on me, but actually, I don't have any faults, okay? He's just kind of using me as a punching, bag or something like that. So, okay, so that worked out fine. I kept working. But, actually people were very envious. Why is it that I have such a good relationship with my boss? It's almost like good friends, not boss to secretary, But anyway, so that was a great working experience with that boss. And after I quit, I kept in touch with him and everything. Then after that was the first job. All right, and then MCA Records, after a year, I again went home and became a full-time mother. Then afterwards, I went back to Taiwan News. That was another job. I was there for a year because they wanted to try setting up some English courses for adults. And so I kind of got in there, and I tried at it for a year. Then I quit because it was just too hard. So I didn't make much profit, but anyway, it was a good experience. So then after that, I went home again and became a full-time mother. This time for quite a long time, many years, before I realized that there was this job opportunity at RTI, 中央广播电台. I went, and actually I interviewed for the job twice, but in a span of 8 years. Yeah, in a span of 8 years. Because the first time I went in, you have to take a written test. I took the written test. They test you on translation, like Professor Chen was saying. But that was to prepare us for hosting your own program in English, translating the news from Chinese into English, and also being a reporter on your own. You think about your programs yourself, you think of the topic yourself, then you contact people yourself, then you go out and do interviews yourself, and you come back, then you get all your information together, and you write your own script, and then you record your own program, and you edit it everything by yourself. Just one person, not like NPR. Do you guys know their radio station? For every 3-minute program, there's a team of 15 people behind it to make the final product. Can you imagine? But me, it's one person doing a 15-minute program. But anyway, but it's good. I like working at RTI because they also teach you, how to control the machine. You don't just talk into the microphone, not like this, but you have to also do the machine while you do the program. Or even when I do live news broadcast at 7 p.m. every day, we have to control the machine ourselves while we do live news broadcasts. So that's pretty much where, from my childhood to now is how I got here. But the thing is, it all looks glamorous, right? All this thing, but actually there's a lot to my life to get to where I am at this point, because I'm a person who doesn't have a lot of confidence in myself. Didn't used to. But today, I think God has really blessed me. So, but let's watch the video here. Not a video. I've got a slideshow. How I went from pupa to a butterfly. This was me in about high school, I'd say. And this is me actually in the 摄影棚, in the film studio. But yeah, did I look very confident here? I don't think so. So I was definitely a lot fatter then. In the States, you actually would gain a lot of weight because there's so much food fattening. this is my family. That's John, and my older daughter, Cynthia, and my second daughter, Clarita, and Charles, my son, who's now 15, 16, and 18. So I'm not as young as you think I am. All right. Oh, we try to have fun. And I'm very thankful for my husband, who's a very outgoing person. Now, with a straight father that I have, you can imagine my life is very confined. I have to do things a certain way because my father is a very high demanding person. He has very high expectations of himself, which is not all bad, but that turns me into someone who's also very high demanding on myself. I'm very hard on myself. And so likewise, I'm very hard on my husband. You know, so that's how it rose into a problem, right? But you know, that's how I used to be. Okay. Yeah, we try to have fun. And I think my kids and my husband has helped me to relax and enjoy life, you know, more than not. This is, you know, whole family. This is my father. Oh, I can use this. That's my father. That's my mom. Those are my in-laws. We are a happy family together. Yes. This is actually on Chu'er. And actually, you know, both families have very good relationship. This is very rare for Taiwanese, you know, both sides families get along very well. But Chu'er, you know, my dad is very generous. And every Chu'er, which is the day when, Chu'er is the second day of the Chinese New Year, where the wives go back to her parents' place. Okay, well, we always eat out. It's been a tradition for many years. And my father would invite my in-laws to eat with us. Yes, so that's how great our relationship is. I went to Wellesley. It's a beautiful campus. And by the way, there have been stories, and I think my dad kind of falls into that category, why he chose Wellesley, I think, is because the campus is so beautiful that I remember I have a 学妹, you know, someone who's an alum but younger than me, you know, a couple of years younger than me. She said that she went with her parents, they flew to Boston, and it was at night, so they went to bed. But the next morning, her parents got up really early, decided to go walk around the campus first, take a nice morning walk, and she was still sleeping in the hotel. Her parents came back and told her, "You're going to Wellesley." Why? Because it's a beautiful campus. I don't care what you think. You're going to Wellesley. And a lot of people had decided, may the daughters go to Wellesley because of that. So that is how beautiful our campus is. This is Lake Waban. Yeah, we have a lake. All right. For those of you who don't know Wellesley, yeah, I'm sure my dad, you know, he wants all the glamour for me. So he picked Wellesley campus, Wellesley College. I actually was on wait list for Wellesley because I also applied to several other, you know, pretty good, because I did well in high school, you know, in Tokyo. And so I applied to like 7 colleges in the States, and I got into all of them. Except Wellesley, I was put on wait list. And at the time, my dad would bring me to send a telegram every week, every Monday, to Wellesley saying how much I want to go. So every week he would bring me to the telegram office and send a telegram to the college. Well, maybe that worked because I finally got in. Yeah. Wellesley, Madame Chiang Kai-shek, you guys know? Yes, wife of, you know, Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek. So she was an alum of Wellesley College. She went to Wellesley College. So did Hillary Clinton. Okay. And Diane Sawyer, do you guys know her? She's an ABC anchor woman. Actually, she just went back to be an anchor woman this year, I believe, at the age of 60 or something like that. Amazing. They use older women, older, mature, secure women in the States to do news. Not here where they use La Mei, right? I don't know, the culture is so different. But there are pros and cons you know. So there's definitely good and bad to this, but you know, they must be so successful to be able to sit back on the anchor table to be, you know, the news broadcast. Do you guys know her? Lian Huixin, who is the older daughter of Lian Zan, who is now the honorary KMT chairman, who was also previously, you know, vice president and all that. So, okay, so that's her, his daughter. She's my 学妹 at Wellesley. Okay, I just want to talk about some of the interviews, you know, interesting interviews I've had with people. This one is Phil Chernigovsky, who he has a sad story to tell. How he became a fan of Zhou Lijiang, Jiang Hui, who is like top, you know, Taiwanese diva in the Taiwanese language. Okay, so that's her. Phil's story, I don't know if you guys know, but many years ago, his son Ruben came to Taiwan and climbed Ali Mountain, but then he got lost and nobody found his body. His father came to Taiwan 6 times to look for his body, to look for him, and he never found him. But he made a lot of friends in Taiwan, a lot of indigenous people, a lot of the policemen, a lot of people who helped as rescue workers. And one time when he was in the camp, he was feeling very sad, and he listened that the cab driver was playing Jiang Hui's music in the cab. He really felt very comforting, even though he doesn't know one word of Chinese. And the driver realized that he was enjoying the music. He said, "This is Taiwan #1." He kept saying Taiwan #1, you know, and then took out the CD and gave it to him. So he brought it home. He just loved, you know, her music. He collected a total of like 10 of her albums, and every Sunday, because he sculpts, 他雕刻, you know, he sculpts usually human figures, maybe the face and all that kind of stuff. He's very into sculpting, and he always does that every Sunday. And so what he did was that he would play Jiang Hui's music, and the music would give him inspiration, and then he would sculpt. So that's what he would do every Sunday. And Jiang Hui finally heard about him, so invited him to one of her concerts, all the way from New Zealand. By the way, yeah, Phil is from New Zealand, okay? And so he was like a special guest at the concert, and she sang a song dedicated to him. So I got in touch with him by email. He doesn't have a computer at his home, and he would always have to go into the city to, you know, use the internet cafe to see my email. So I always have to write him an email. I have to wait and hope that he would see my email. And then, so the first time we did a phone interview, but then when he came for the concert, I want to make sure he'd come in and have an interview with me. And that's how we met and had the interview. Yes, I had an interview with Vincent Shao, our former VP. And he is, you know, like they say, he smiles a lot. He's a really cute old man, you know. And I'll tell you the secret, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind. He actually had a script. So he was reading from the script. I ask a question and you read the script. I ask another question. You know how it is with politicians. They don't let you have the freedom to ask them questions. They tell you, you can only ask me this, this, and this, okay? And it was funny because he was reading the script, right? The prompt machine. And then I was like, you know, going like that, and you know, he's reading and reading. You know, he reads slowly, and then all of a sudden he stopped, and I'm going like, wow, because I didn't know that he just read to the end of the script, you know. So then I was like, I didn't know what to do. So my first instinct was that, wow. So then I went on to the next question, but it was fun. And he said that if you, I said, can I go off the script and ask you 1 or 2 questions. He said, yes, but if you talk louder, because he doesn't have good hearing, then yes, he says, fine. Well, I did ask him a question, but he didn't catch it. So he went on to the next script, and I was going, but anyway, it was fun. It really was fun. I don't know if you know, I even interviewed a cook, yes, a chef. He's executive chef of 美孚食品. It's Meifu company in food and beverages. He has a supermarket, a steakhouse, and a Neuromian shop, okay, in Meihu. And I interviewed him because he has a story to tell. He really does. He brought in dry-aged beef, 干熟牛肉. He said that's the way to eat beef. I can tell you why. Because it's dried 21 days, not in the freezer, not in the fridge, just in a temperature-controlled room for 21 days. It would get all ugly and dry on the outside. But then when you cook this kind of steak, once it's brought in front of you and you cut into it, there will be no blood flowing out from the steak. Do you know what I mean? Let's say that you eat a steak that's like medium rare, 3分5分熟, okay? But you know how you cut into it and the blood comes out? Well, there's no blood with this kind of dry aged beef, 干熟牛肉. So he brought this into Taiwan, this idea. So it's very interesting. His father said, you don't have a future, so I'm going to send you to Australia, and then you're going to learn English there. But what he did was that he went to Australia, he learned how to make pizza. Then he brought pizza back. He's from Kaohsiung. He opened up a pizza place. It was the most popular pizza place for a lot of people, for most foreigners, until Pizza Hut came in. Then he lost business, he had to close his shop. So then he said, okay, he went back to, actually he went to Australia twice because he wanted to make perfect pizza, But anyway, then he went to the States and learned how to make steak. So then he learned how to make steak. So he traveled abroad like 4 or 5 times. He's so into wanting to perfect everything. He really his dream is to let everybody know that this is the best kind of steak that you can have. And Taiwanese people are catching on, slowly but surely. So, this is our former GIO minister, okay? 新闻局, right? And it's very interesting. He was our boss, our big boss for RTI. And so when I interviewed him, it was so funny. I researched about him, right? And I sent it to his assistant. But when his assistant didn't say anything back to me, I thought that all the information I got from the internet was correct. 100% correct, I thought, because they didn't say that it's anything wrong. So at the interview, I said something like, oh, I know that you collect antique cars, and then you actually ship the car from the States back to Taiwan. He said, no, that's not true. I was like, oh, sorry, And then also I thought that on the internet it says that he studied in Japan. He said, no, I didn't. I made like 3 mistakes. So what do? It's a formal interview. So what I did was that I actually apologized in the interview. I said, I'm sorry. But then because he's with the information, the government and information office, I said, you guys should do something about this. Because if all the information about you that's out there on the internet, people think that it's true. But if it's not, you need to do something about this. Like, there's always all this false information. That's why there's gossips. That's why there's, fake one. That's why people's stories are distorted so much, totally upside down. But I said, you should do this. You should do something about this. But anyway, I try to kind of smooth over the rough parts in the interview, and that takes a quick mind, and then kind of thinking, try to correct the wrongs, so to right the wrongs. I don't know if you guys have been to the International Flora Expo. International Flora Expo, 花博, right? You know how on 中山北路, on the 中山 North Road, there is a building that's made out of 1.5 million PET plastic bottles. You guys know that building, right? Well, he designed it. So, his company designed it. And so he's really into, eco-friendly products and everything. He also made these covers for iPhone 5. I don't know if you guys have iPhone 5. No? Oh, otherwise I can give you one of these, plastic covers. Smartphone covers for you. But anyway, so he's a young guy, very smart. He figured that, basically, he's very humble. He said that I'm just putting what everybody talks about into action. Because he says people talk about, oh, we should do this, we should make this so that we can love the earth. But I just make what everybody says and make it happen. So he's pretty smart but humble guy. Okay, Nick Vasiljevich. Okay, he's from Zurich, Switzerland. And he's director of Pilot Fish, which is a industrial design company in Neihu. Sometimes you don't know what kind of interviewee you're going to get, just what kind of personality he has. Well, you know what's NG? Well, he NG'd many times during the interview. He kept saying like, can I do that over again? Oh, I don't like that. Can I say that again? And it's like, what do you do? But yeah. He was that kind of person. I guess he's a perfectionist, worse than I am. but he really cared a lot. But he's a very, very, like almost too polite kind of person. But that's Nick. Arvin Chen, do you guys know the movie called 一夜台北, Au revoir Taipei? Well, he made that film. And it actually won Berlin Bear Festival Film Award, and a couple of others. So I interviewed him in the 摄影棚. And something about movie directors, they're usually very shy. And I'm really glad that he decided, because I'm actually going to be interviewing somebody, another movie director next week, but he insists on not going on camera, okay? But he was willing. At the end of the interview, he really encouraged me by saying that I asked really good questions. And he was like probably one of the first interviews that I did in the 摄影棚. So I was really encouraged, and we're still in touch sometimes, yes. Shirley Shi, she's producer at Dynamic Communications, but she made a documentary called Trash to Treasure. It's called 绿色宝藏, which got nominated for a Golden Bell last year, yeah, for Best Director's Award, I think. And she's interesting. She made some really interesting films herself, and like her father suffers from depression. She actually made a documentary about it. She's very open about her life, and it actually won an award. She called it Blue Papa, or something like that, or Papa Blue, yeah. And so it's amazing. And it's very interesting. When you get to know people, then you realize that, oh, she did a documentary with, Trash to Treasure. She knew Arthur Huang, the one who, designed the Eco Arc, the 1.5 PET bottle building for Flora Expo. So Arthur Huang's his documentary was in this, this whole documentary that she made, that got nominated. So, yeah. I don't know if you guys know him, Isaac Ho, Hu Qizhi. Okay, he's a street artist. He actually, his most familiar kind of performance is on the steer wheel. It's about as big and as tall as himself, okay? And he turns around on the wheel, you know. And also he plays with a crystal ball and kind of rolls the crystal ball, you know, around his shoulder and back and arm and everything. Yeah, so he's a very interesting guy. And after the interview, we talked even more. We talked about his life, we talked about his marriage, we talked about his wife. And that's the part I like. It's not so much in front of camera. It's that I have a curiosity about people, you know? And so the curiosity gives you a good interview. And so even afterwards, I still enjoy his life. I want to know more about him. So I chat before the interview, I even chat afterwards. That is if they have time for me, you know. And he was one of them. Shi Yingying, she's an independent singer, and she's into more contemporary gospel music. She's a very friendly, personable person, and it was the first interview I did in the singing pong where she sang. And you know, this has to do with like, oh, if you get a good microphone and how far, and because singers are very a perfectionist. They wanted to sound right. So she kind of did her song. She just did a cappella, so without music, because of copyright. But anyway, no, actually not because of copyright. But anyway, she decided to sing a cappella. She actually redid it like 3 times, so until it's like she thinks perfect. Then we went for the interview, the talk part. But she's very personable, you know, very friendly, and has a lot of ambition and great dreams for her own life. So that was really a good interview too. Lin Xiuwei. She is a dancer from way back. I think more like our generation probably, you know. And she is producer of Contemporary Legend Theater, and they perform these great, you know, like they turned Macbeth, you know, these Greek plays into a Chinese style kind of opera. So she's amazing, you know. And they also did like King Lear, you know, Macbeth and all those. So this is her husband, and she is a tiny, tiny woman. You know, she drove up to the radio station, and when she got out, I was surprised. She's just a tiny woman, but she is amazing. She never learned English properly, but because she would go abroad, bring her troupe, and perform abroad, that's how she practiced her English, and that's how she learned it. And she's very brave. She's not afraid. She's not shy. She wasn't afraid of making mistakes. Her English was not perfect, but we had a great interview in the studio. And when she decided to leave, when she was ready to leave, she gave me a hug, and that meant everything to me. Yeah, about our friendship or how the interview went. This is a good friend of ours, husband and wife. In fact, they were very successful. She was like, I believe she was Beinu and then Taida, right? And he was a psychiatrist, very successful. But then in 2007, I believe, they moved to Beijing. They wanted to kind of continue the dream there. But in a ski accident, he became paralyzed from like chest down and is in wheelchair. But they have a very brave, amazing story to tell. Because at the time, you know, China, sometimes things are more like backwards. So when they were at the ski, when the accident happened, everybody there just froze, didn't know what to do. So fortunately, he's a doctor. So he says, you guys call the ambulance, you guys should pick me up this way and then not that way and now that. And it's amazing. But he's a fighter. And now he is the CEO of Spinal Cord Injury Foundation, so that he can help people just like him. He's very positive, very thankful. He's not like, yeah, he did begin with saying like, why me? but afterwards he changed to asking, what do I need to do now? And that's a great young couple. They don't have any children yet, so maybe they will think about adopting eventually, but I don't know. Yeah. So that was a great story. Okay, there's Stanley Yen. You just seen just the interview earlier. This is John and Gerard Hay Youlong of Dale Carnegie Training. I just appreciate one thing after the interview. I asked them, every single guest that would come, on my show, to sign a guest book afterwards. And what Gerard, the son, said, wrote was saying like, it felt like talking to an old friend, and that really meant a lot to me. Like, he liked the interview. He felt like it was a chat, not like a serious kind of, very tense kind of interview. So, and that's how I go about with my interviews, actually. There's Joanna Lei, and then Richard Chang. He's tall, 190 centimeters. But, interesting thing about him, like I think he said earlier in the interview you saw, is that he uses all athletes working at Costco. So they're all tall like him. And why? Because he says that he knows that even though these people that he worked with, he got into the company, were former basketball players or, swimmers or whatever, but he knows that they're disciplined, that they can, work hard at their job. They can persevere at their job, And I really like that about him. I think he said earlier, if you caught it, he said, when I interview people, I don't look at their GPA. Some of them I don't even look at the GPA at all, the grade average. He doesn't look at academic grades. He looks at what can you contribute to the company, to see you as a person, what have you done? That's more important. And I hope that you guys, yes, study is important, but more so is, are you happy with what you're doing? I want you to think about pursuing dreams that that you can be happy and also contribute to society. So every one of you are born with certain talents. It's a matter of where and when you're going to discover that talent that's hidden in you, because that's what happened to me. Yeah. I'll tell you about that later, second half. Okay. Oh, Leonard Zhao, he's the former ambassador to Swaziland. And when at the interview, at the very end, he said that when he and his wife were leaving Swaziland to come back to Taiwan, they were on a plane, and the pilot made an announcement on, over the intercom, and said, "We have Ambassador Zhao and his wife on a plane with us. We really thank them for the contribution to the country," because he brought electricity to Swaziland, literally, because they had no electricity before. He brought electricity to the country. So, they made this announcement. They said, "We thank them all these years for the contribution, what they've done for the country. So let's give them applause." His wife broke down and cried. And right there and then, when he was telling the story, I felt like crying. I said, oh, I really did. So I really get into the interview, I guess. If you listen to their stories, they have amazing stories to tell. And I think that's what I like about interviewing people. That's Fanny Xu, who is director of Quatronic Culture and Arts Foundation. 中强光电, they have a 基金会, a foundation. So it's into light, all the different kinds of lights and everything. But I asked her, I said, light, how's that different from art? So he said, well, that's a good question. But anyway, you can certainly go on and watch my interviews, at other time. Aaron Berg, he brought his bicycle into the studio. So we tried to, because he's really into biking, he had cancer of the lymph, I think, and but he survived. And he became a triathlete, 铁人三项, right? So he's really into biking. He's very thin, but he's very healthy. Very positive thinker, just like Joshua Xu, the one who was in a wheelchair. And he brought his bike in there. So you think like, well, I want him to bring a bike. but I didn't know what to do with it. But it's a good thing that I worked with my crew and figured out of some ways. He actually relates life to wheel. He said if the wheel's not proper, then your life would be a wreck. But how the wheel needs to flow, so you have to check your bike before you go biking and things like that. So he relates to things, All right. And I just want to say that Larry King is my idol. But it's afterwards that I realized he's my idol, because I read his book. One thing he said, and I always remember this because I think that's me, is he said that during the interview, you should listen carefully to the person telling his story, because if you listen carefully, it will definitely lead you to the next question that you're going to ask him. And I realized that that's what I do. I listen carefully to their stories. Some people, they prepare themselves with 10 questions, and they go ask, boom, answer, okay, boom, answer, boom, answer. No, I prefer, and I think it's better to the listener and to the viewer, is that you listen intently and then you ask the question relating to what he just said. Then it flows. And I think it's definitely more pleasant to listeners and to the audience if you have that kind of interview. So, I just want to say that he's my idol. TV, I'm not the one controlling the machine. So, obviously the TV guy, my producer or director, he said that you can stop anytime, but it's a pain for him to stop and then start over. And it's a pain for me too. So, it's, I wouldn't say any bad, because after all, they're not live. Wait until I do live programs. Then I'm going to tell you what was a bad one, Because I don't think I even know if I can do live right now. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the feelings, because when I did interview by myself, it's sometimes that you're thinking that it will be good, but afterwards you're feeling so bad because you thought that it would be so wonderful, so nice, and this person would be this and that, but actually it's totally opposite. And you feel, I felt totally down and depressed.
Right. That's a very good question, because like on my way up here, I was telling John, sometimes you never know what kind of person your interviewee is. He accepted the interview and said, great, I got an interview. But if he or she is a difficult person to deal with, yeah, it can be nerve-wracking. I can understand. What's a bad interview is, when I do only broadcast interviews, I keep to maybe 18 minutes, because eventually I have to cut it down to 15. And when at the end of the interview, I feel like I haven't gotten to the meat of the interview, then I feel bad. And that has happened a lot of times. And I don't know if that was bad preparation on my part or what, but I know I talk a lot. Well, I don't talk a lot. I ask a lot of questions. And maybe the person talks a lot too. And, sometimes it takes a long time before you finally get into, the role of things in the interview, but time's up. Yeah. Yes, you're right. I have some of interviews like that, but not in the film studio. But yes, only for broadcast. Yes. Did you ask what did I do with those? Okay. Sometimes for a 15-minute program, I let the interview go for maybe 16, 17, 18, 19. But there were times when I was interviewing and I wasn't getting it. I didn't feel that it was good enough to end. So I let it go for 20, 25 before finally I cut it. But that means doing more work afterwards, right? Trying to edit down 15. That's how I deal with it. But there were times when I just got to let it go, because maybe the interview wasn't a talker, and so you feel like no matter what you do, it's just not going to be any better. So yeah, there are times. And I don't know about you, what kind of personality you are, but I'm a person very hard on myself. I feel like, if only I had done this, if only I had done that. But I know, yeah, that's normal, so we're in the same boat. Good question. Thanks. Any other questions? how about we take a 10-minute break? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, a 10-minute break.
I'm sure those Aboriginal children, their parents are very grateful to you. I think in the book you also mentioned the important role that parents should play in the children's future. Do you want to talk about that? Because I'm a parent myself.
Okay.
But do you have to say to parents, because they do play a big role?
I think education, especially in Asia, we're very behind. We still believe examination is the only way to judge people's young people's talent. We do not understand every young people have different talent and potential.
That is so true.
And you have to, as a parent or as a school teacher, their first job is not to examine the young people. It's trying to find the talent. Each individual is different.
Yeah, and everybody's different.
I think Yates, from a long time, Yates have made a comment. He said, education is not pouring water into bucket, it is lighting a fire.
Okay.
But unfortunately, after so many years, we are still pouring water into buckets. In Taiwan, we call 填鸭式教学.
Yes.
We force feeding knowledge to their knowledge.
Force feeding.
To their brand. But unfortunately, when you force feeding them, force them to memorize some of the things, they can easily today pick up an iPad, an iPhone, they can get all the answers, they can Google and getting all the answers they want. And we force the kids to use their brand, okay, mistakenly, just force them to feeding a lot of knowledge. And so as a teacher, I think today, what we really need is your job is not to teach your young people. You are working with them to help them to discover problems, finding solutions. Okay, and even more important is, as a teacher, they always have to have the confidence to make the young people better than themselves, better than teacher themselves, rather than trying to only teach them and give them no alternative to think other possibilities. Yeah.
Wow. What is your future plan? I'm sure you've got a lot of ideas right here. You know, plans, dreams about what you can do for the children. Maybe not only the children of Taiwan, but the whole community of Taiwan. What is your dream? I mean, you're always so mission oriented.
As your time go older, you know your time is limited. What you can do is also limited. So I, in one way, on a nationwide basis or worldwide basis, I'm trying to write my book. In the Chinese community, the book is selling not only in Taiwan, also in China, in Hong Kong, other places. So I'm trying to tell young Asian parents they should have different approach to their kids' futures. And the other thing is I'm concentrating myself at the East Coast. I believe instead of trying to do a little bit of everything everywhere, I should focus myself and trying to
in one area.
Trying to really try hard, learn hard, and finally you can demonstrate something that can work. Right. You need some adjustments, you need to make some effort, but at the end, I hope that can be something for other destination can follow, or for the government can consider. Yeah.
But it seems that you're starting to focus mostly on the art or the music area first.
Culture, their talent.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, for example, I'm seriously thinking about building a vocational school with bilingual vocational school.
Good.
Because when you have a bilingual vocational school, you let the young people really connect the world.
Oh,
which in
that
Taiwan,
is so true.
Yeah, you never have a vocational school have bilingual.
All right.
Decisions or my own likes. I'm not even sure what I want to do in my life. Even before I got into RTI, way back before then, when I was working for Taiwan News, I did recording for them. And that was my first time doing recording. That means going to the studio, and they have this weekly magazine, but then you know how then they would always make these 有声书, sound, they come with CDs. So I would record for the CD. I would just read the content. Very simple. Just read the content, read the vocabularies, and that's all I do recording. And it was my first time. I was nervous. And after a while, hey, it wasn't that bad. And I even learned, I mean, if I would listen back to the very first time I record, and then 10 years later, I recorded 10 years for them, later, I'm sure there's a big difference, because then I learned to have more confidence in my voice. And you can tell if you have confidence in your voice. So I learned how to, well, I'm still learning, how to really use diaphragm to talk, you know, and it's different, so that you don't hurt your voice. You don't go from here, but you try to. So that means when you breathe out, it should come out instead of in. So that's the proper way to breathe when you do broadcasts, so that you don't get tired and hurt your throat. But anyway, so I learned all that, right? And I remember that somehow I learned how to do that, because I remember when I was on the street, just walking on the street, and my kids were younger, and then I would turn around and yell my kid's name, 庄心雅, and then everybody on the street would turn around and look at me. And I'm saying that I'm a very thin person. I used to have a very small, soft voice, but now it's like I had no idea I was like projecting my voice. But I'm thankful for my job to make me confident in my voice, I guess. And then eventually it wasn't just reading. Eventually the boss wants me to read and explain the English, and I was going, I'm not an English teacher. I was never an English teacher. I can't explain. So I started getting nervous again, you know, and I realized that if it's something that I've never tried before, that it's new, I have no confidence. I want to make sure that I'm 100% confident that I know I'm going to do this right before I'll go on stage, that kind of thing. So I was nervous. So what did I do? I didn't know what to do. I called somebody who's a foreigner in Taiwan. He's kind of experienced in this. So he says, oh, it's easy, and explained to me that you just do this and that, and it's, you know, it's no big deal. So, all right, fine. First time I tried, second time I tried. After a while, hey, it wasn't that hard anymore. So I went from a simply just reading and recording to eventually read, record, and explain, okay? And that, I overcame that obstacle. Then, actually it was John who saw the ad in the papers for RTI. He said, hey, go try it. I said, what, me? You know? But gosh, the translation test was not easy. You had to be up on the current news, and you know, my Chinese is not good. So, but hey, I actually did it. I remember it was then when there was 公投 referendum, and I was glad, like, there's the two words 公投, and I'm going like, what's that word? What's that word? Oh yeah, referendum. I was like, oh, great, because I thought that, oh my goodness, it's a good thing that I was up on the news that I found that. But you know, when it comes to translation, and I think I also enjoy simultaneous interpretation, which is, you know, like actually it's a delay of 3 seconds that you kind of, I tried before, when you're off in a booth at a conference and you're supposed to translate right away, right? And I think I like that more than consecutive translation, because you have to listen to someone say a whole 5 lines, but then I'll be like, what did you just say? Because I forget what he said in the beginning. But so I prefer simultaneous interpretation, 就是逐步 no 逐字翻 okay 逐字翻译. Anyway, why did I get to this point? Okay, so I took the test and I got into RTI. Well, actually, the first time when I took the written test, you know, I didn't get in. So it wasn't until, you know, like 8 years later before I finally got in. But now I'm in radio, and I never thought I was going to go into radio. Like Professor Chen was saying, like, economics and math major, how did you go from here to broadcasting? I don't know. I feel lucky. And I've really enjoyed broadcasting ever since then. You know, I think my problem of this, and you know, broadcasting with not in front of camera to now in front of camera, you know, people would tell me, because I'm always still very hard on myself, every interview, after the interview, I evaluate myself. I say, oh, that could have been done better. Oh, that could be better, and that could be better. So, which is good, but that's how hard I am on myself. And, my dad, I don't think he really thinks highly of this job. My brother, I have a younger brother, after he graduated from undergraduate, he got a job almost on Wall Street in New York. It's the one after, parallel to it. So, he almost got to Wall Street. You can say that, because why? Because I think my dad made me feel, okay, and I don't think that's bad, but I'm sure that some of your parents are like that. Maybe it's your mom or your dad, that they make a mistake of comparing among the siblings. I see someone shaking her head, and he made me felt that. And I told him to his face, I said, are you comparing me and my brother? Because he got a job almost on Wall Street, but I didn't. And he said, oh, no, But honestly, I was really hurt, And I don't know, some parents, they like to say about great things about the neighbor's kids. So-and-so went to Taida. So-and-so's kids went to Beinu. So-and-so's kids went to Harvard, and so-and-so kid went to Princeton. And that's not healthy for the kids. They think that, I'm not only talking about my dad. Some parents think that this is the way to push the kid to do what they think is right for the kid, for their child. But I don't think so. Some people, that works. If they make you push you, go to Harvard, it'll get you a good future. And then the kid said, okay, yeah, I agree with you, and then go. But then there are others. That's not the way. I think I'd rather, as I went in life, that I discovered that I'd rather that my dad let me make mistakes, and I'll learn from my mistakes. And don't be afraid of mistakes. Don't be afraid of failures. And that's what I have to constantly remind myself. Because even now, I don't think I'm great in front of TV, actually. People would say, including my husband, you're good, you're great. And I'm going like, to be honest, I said, I'm just being myself. But that is because some people actually ask me, how come you can be so natural in front of the TV? And I said, well, in a way, I don't feel, just pretend the TV's not there. It's like you're just talking to a good friend. And that's what I do, is that, of course, the very first beginning, our studio is not a big professional one. And I was told that when you interview the interviewee, and besides, the first time it was like sitting, not facing the interviewee, it was more like to the camera, and so I had to turn. But the thing is that I was asked that every now and then I still have to go and look back at the camera. And so I'll be like talking and then look back at the camera, but it's so unnatural, So I'd rather just talk to my interviewee, right? Like a good friend. But so I said I'm just being myself, which I think it's already a big step for me to feel that I'm not doing it under pressure or something like that. So I think that I wish that parents like that, who are hard on their kids, would learn to let go and just let their children find their way, My dad is the kind of person who would even like, I know, he'll probably say something about this, dye my hair, or putting on nail polish. I don't know how picky your parents are, but my dad is like that. Some of you, maybe it's a mom or something like that. But, so I'm very uptight around my dad. Although I've come a long way, I'm finally learning to realize that that's the way he is. Because, to be honest, all of our parents must have had a model, and it was their parents that made them the way they are today. And then today, he's made me the way I am today. And it's funny, I don't like the things that he controls me, but I realize that I actually control my kids. and my husband, and it's something you can't change overnight. You can only work on it, and work on it. Eventually, you will. And I think most of us want our parents to know that, hey, we're already grown up. We're an adult. We can make our own decisions, and it's okay if we make our own mistakes. Because I feel like my dad is trying to kind of like hold me up in his arms, in his hand, and bring me up so that I don't have any mistakes or faults or failures. I don't drop into holes. He's like trying to move me over so that I don't fall into traps. I don't, make wrong mistakes. But you'll realize that that's not what you want. What you want is that I want to fall, and then pick myself back up again, because then I'll learn more that way. Instead of you force-feeding, telling me you should do this and not do that. So I really have come a long way. That's why I see myself as from pupa to a butterfly. I'm still working, I still, always hard on myself, thinking of the mistakes and things like that. But I have to constantly tell myself, well, what's done is done. Like for today, I'll think that maybe afterwards, at 12, I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna say, oh, I forgot to say that. Oh, I forgot to share that. I'm gonna have to let it go. I'm just gonna have to let it go. Because honestly, if you have all the time in the world today for me, I can go on and on about my life. Every one of your life is colorful. And it can be very colorful, depending on how you want to make it. Not what somebody draws it out for you, but you're the one that's going to draw your own life. So I think be bold enough. And I'm finally, at my age, and like I said, I'm not young, finally at my age, I'm just telling myself, I'm going to let go of my dad's claws and try and just go ahead and do what I want to do, instead of falling short, because he would always say like, no, don't try that. And I'll be like, oh, all right. And don't try that. And I'll be going like, okay, well then what can I try? But I'd say, what is on your heart that you want to try, I say you just go for it. It's better off, don't be afraid of mistakes. Don't be afraid of failures, because those are the valuable things over success. And I honestly believe that. And I think there are a lot of people, I think Taiwan is changing, because I think Taiwanese people are like Stanley. They're starting to be aware about letting kids do what they want to do, even though it's a crazy idea. And I think there are more and more young people who are trying crazy things, but they're willing to try. They want to go for it and just try it until something tells them to stop. And I think parents have to learn to let go and give that freedom, because I think that's what we have these days. People are more free thinking and more daring and willing to take risks. So I think that's what makes you, a contributing person to society, and also that's what makes you a unique person in your own way. Well, I can go on and on talking about my life, honestly, but we have like about 10 minutes or even less, or actually less, maybe like 5 minutes. I don't know if you guys have any questions or that you want to know about me. Anything? Yes?
I would like to mention something about the Ministry of Education, Stanley, right? The Ministry of Education.
Yes.
That you show.
Right, Stanley Yin. Yeah, what he said about it.
I think it's very interesting the analysis he did. Like, don't put water into a bucket, but rather to light up a fire.
Yeah.
So I think it's very interesting, because in some Taiwanese universities there will be this trend of putting students into competition. Like, for example, if there are some grades, they will be sent by email revealing the names.
Oh,
so
yes.
I think it's very surprising. I think it's very positive that there is people like him in Taiwan, and it could be positive if it also gets into some universities, that they still have these kind of techniques of competition. because I felt what you said about your father, it kind of applies as well in these kind of techniques.
So it seems like that's the conventional way of things, how things are done in Taiwan. I think Taiwan is learning, it's changing, it's learning, but very gradually. A lot of the trends, other countries catch on before it finally gets to Taiwan. So do you intend for me to say something to the education ministry? Is that what you're saying? I don't have that right.
Well, I think he has
some
a very
points.
positive mindset, but some professors probably still have they still need to gradually change, and also, for example, openly say or compare students. I think that's very, from my point of view, it's very negative, and it's also even frustrating. Because I think every person should kind of challenge him or herself rather than compete, because everyone has a different background. So I don't think it's positive, and even I think it's, as you mentioned before, it can be even in somehow frustrating.
Yeah. Like Stanley said, he said he's only one person. He wished that there would be more people that can do the same, have the same goal, have the same dream and direction and work together. It really takes more. But of course, it has to start with one person, and he's doing a great job. He said, I forgot if that was the video I put, but he actually was invited to the government and spoke 3 times. But then at the end of it, he said, I'm an idiot, because they weren't listening. They were just there and kind of looking at their watch and trying to say, I'm sorry, I've got the next meeting to go to. I've written a letter to, when Ma Ying-jeou was Taipei City Mayor, I wrote an email to him, because back then, when my kids were younger, this has to do with English. I'm critical about the way English is taught in Taiwan. My daughter was in kindergarten. She came back one day and said, Mom, I learned a song today. And she started singing. She said something, ramble, something, ramble. I'm going like, Cynthia, what's ramble? 彩虹啊? I said, oh, it's rainbow. He said, no, teacher says ramble. And I'm going like, oh, I wanted to cry. Okay, then another time, it was at work, and I called to give my name. And so I spelled my name. I said, S-H-I-R-L-E-Y. And the other person goes, huh? And I'm going like, S-H-I-R-L-E-Y. Oh! And I was like, oh, I wanted to cry again. Nothing critical of you guys, okay? But so I wrote about this in the letter, because I think, but the thing is that he never wrote back to me. It was through a good friend. So my friend told me that, oh, he said that he got your email. He did get the letter. I said, oh, okay. But, because I think afterwards I realized that there's nothing much that he can do. You want to try to change everybody's mentality in the government alone, it's going to, I don't know what it's going to take. It's not easy. So I think he's aware of the problem, but he doesn't know what to do about it. But anyway, Stanley decides that he's just going to, no matter what everybody else is doing, he says that he's just going to start it by one person, and as long as he lives, he's going to work on it. I think he's got a great heart. And I told him, I said, gosh, if there's anything I can help, because I'm in media, as if I can really help, but after, while preparing for this and watching his video again, I said I really, really want to get in touch with him and just let him know what I can really do, But it takes you starting, I don't know, and then getting people on it. It's hard, because like with global warming, I wish that everybody knows that you need to love the earth. So switch off the lights, save energy. But if it's only just a small group, but you've got a whole world to educate, it's still going to be hard. I mean, I'm thinking the weather, now winter is like so cold, it's extremes. And in the summer, it's like so hot. I mean, when would it be when we just walk out there with short sleeve and we're going to get sunburned? Just a matter of seconds. I don't know if this is true. I'm not a scientist, but yeah. So, but thanks. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Would you say that you have your own style of interviewing, or it is kind of different every time?
Good question. I believe I have my own style. And yeah, just like singers, when they're just new as a singer on stage, I think I've watched some of the TV shows where they have these singing talent shows. And a lot of times I've heard the judges say, be yourself. I know you do a great job imitating so and so and so and so, but I don't see anything that's you in there, you know? And I think that's really important. Be confident the way you are. I mean, I know I have a problem. I have a problem is that I'm not good at, I stutter a lot, even on TV. You know, I'm going like, this is Stanley Yan from, you know, and I hate that about myself, but I can't change it. Why should I try to change it? So that's me. And I said, I don't care. I'm older than all the other interviewers, and this is the way I am. I'm not going to try and change that, because that's just the way I am. If you like me, you like me. If you don't like me, you don't like me, fine. You know, so yeah, I think I've discovered my style, and that is from all the encouragement from people around me that made me see that I am good, because I didn't think that I was good, you know, and yeah. Yes?
Another question. First of all, I have to say that I really admire your attitude and how you deal with your work.
Thank you.
One thing I want to know more is about when you, especially when you say that you go back and to be a full-time mom for a long time, and then I just want to know how you can adjust yourself to get into the job again. Because as you say, your idol is like Larry King, and you know, most of the time the host of the television show or the radio show, they never stop working. So once you stop during at that time and then you came back again, how can you adjust yourself to be this lively and talkative, like really creative like this?
Okay. Well, thank goodness that for the last 7 years I've been at RTI. It's been a continuous 7 years, so I have never stopped and then gone home. But you know, being a full-time mom was before RTI. So, but you're right. You know, at the time when I actually decided to go home and take care of my first child, I was going like, because it was my husband who said, Wang Weizhou, you know, this guy, this TV producer guy is looking for a secretary. Go interview. And I'm going like, well, what am I going to do with our daughter? Who's going to take care of her? Oh, we'll take care of that later. You know, I always said that myself. So I'm a very mother kind of person. I said, first thing I think of is, what about the child? But anyway, of course we got babysitter and everything, because I got the job. So I went back to work, and I don't know, I think my past, and this I have to thank my dad, as well as a lot of other things I have to thank my dad. It's because of his job that we've lived in Hong Kong, Japan, and the States. Well, the States I went by myself. You learn to adjust to different cultures. So people ask me if you've gone through culture shock. I think that has given me the experience so that I don't go through culture shock. So likewise, switching from full-time mom back to work was kind of not hard, you know. But I think I mentioned that was being a secretary in the States and being a secretary in Taiwan is two very different worlds. And I learned it through the hard way, crying and complaining and everything. But yeah, so it wasn't hard, because when you've been home for a while, you know, this is the agony that full-time mothers go through. Because when you're home, you want to be with kids, but after a while, you kind of miss society. You feel like you've torn away from society. There's a lot that you don't know, you know, and you wonder what to do. And so, can you turn on the light? It's a little dark. Oh, for the camera, sorry. It wasn't hard, because when you're home, you kind of miss the side, you know, being at work. And then when you're at work, now, no, I don't miss being home, because my kids are all grown up. They're on their own, so, and I think I would enjoy this work. But I can tell you the truth is that after you get into broadcasting, you love it for life. Because I've tried to go back to being an office lady, because to be honest with you, broadcasting, the pay is average, you know? And so when I wanted to go back to office lady work, I realized that, again, I feel a gap. And I'm going, do I really want to go back to this? Sit at a desk from 9 to 5 and just typing and just doing research and then go home? Do I really want to do this? I started struggling. So I think, honestly, after you get into broadcasting, you love it for life. You just don't want to leave it because it's more fun than any other jobs that you know. Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, I don't want to take any more of your time, so thank you very much for your patience and thank you for your questions and your participation. Yes, oh, one last question. Yeah.
Do you have, because like I learned few languages and your language is English and Chinese. Do you have sometimes feeling that you're mixing the languages? Because for me it's very, right now when I'm writing in English, I still want to sometimes write in Russian because Russian is my native language.
Oh, wow. We have a Russian service.
Do you have these kind of things, like when you speak or when you write something? Do you mixing languages?
Yeah, well, we're in Taiwan. Taiwan is not an English-speaking country, so my English, I think, has deteriorated. So there are times when I'll be like stuck, I don't know what the English word is, I have to say in Chinese because, I don't know. So my English is still better than my Chinese though. Translating, yes, I'm sure, and you know, these 7 years, it's only finally these 1 or 2 years that my translation for Chinese news stories into English has gotten better. Otherwise, I think it was so much of that Chinglish English kind of translation, word by word, and you know, when I go back and read, I'm going, what did I just write? It's hard, but you know, I think the rest of us all appreciate you more for being so trilingual or multilingual. It's not easy. I don't think I'm great because there are all these other languages in our radio station. They have to be trilingual. I mean, first of all, they've got their own mother tongue. You know, we're talking about Spanish, right? Then they know Chinese. The Chinese has to be good enough to get to RTI, and then they have to know English. They would know English. So there you go. Just 3 languages. For me, just 2. I don't think I'm great. You know. So I always say that I really respect all those other languages. So it's okay. I'm sure you get confused, but it's amazing that you can still function properly with all those languages. Yeah. I think the important thing is, well, if I'm talking about translation, make sure that you always go back and then read it to make sure that it flows. Because you know, I almost always, that's why I'm slower than other people, because I always have to go back and read again and then change it into proper English. Because no doubt, doing translation, it was just very Chinglish English. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. And if you guys want to get in touch with me, I would love for you guys to email me or call me. I always like to make friends. That's my, can you read it? Can you see it? Oh. Yeah. I welcome your emails, and you can always call. It's always great to make a friend. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. We want to thank Miss Lin today come here to bring us such a wonderful story about herself and about her work. And I think it's also very empowering and encouraging that she's not from journalism or mass communications, but still she can learn from her work. And one thing that is very charming or fantastic about this job, working in the media, is that you can always learn from your work. And
during the process you explore your own potential. And let's thank her again. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you can always contact her if you have any questions. Call her or email her.